Everybody, this is Lisa Haven, and as we get closer to the month of September, we are starting to hear more and more talk about some of the events and also speculation. We have both going on simultaneously, but a lot of the things that are going down in that month. Now, earlier, I did a report about a couple weeks ago on 13 events that are going to happen either on or before September. These are facts. These are not speculations. Many of those included, hopefully you got a chance to go through them, but it included the Shemitah, which I'm going to get into in a moment, the blood moons, the United Nations meeting, the Pope coming here, a possibility that the UN is going to back the Palestinian state, and lots of other things that are happening. The Star of Bethlehem, Jubilee year, all this stuff is facts. They're not speculation about what is going to happen. Now, there are and is speculation out there about the month of September. For example, the asteroid. There has been a lot of talk that there's going to be an asteroid hitting the world in September, so much so that NASA even issued a retraction. And I'm going to leave link for NASA's retraction on that so you guys can check that out. I find it interesting because, number one, NASA wouldn't warn us anyway because we would probably likely panic. But why they feel the need to issue that retraction, I don't know. Anyhow, with that said, I don't personally believe that any asteroid is going to hit in the month of September. That is my belief. However, I do believe that we are borderline on an economic rocky crisis. I mean, we literally are on the brink. And here's why I believe this so hardcore. It's because of what Jonathan Cahn had talked about in regards to the Shemitah. And I believe that we're not only that, but because of where we stand, we're on the brink. There's nothing left but for America to eventually topple. And we're seeing this internationally. It's already happened in Greece and in China. Their stock markets fell. All this stuff is happening all around us. Now, let me tell you why I think the Shemitah is important to know. Now, if you haven't heard about the Shemitah, what it is it's a Sabbath year that Israel celebrates every 7 years. They have this sabbatical or Sabbath year, kind of like you have your 7-day week and they rest on Sunday. Well, this is your 7th year, so to speak, but it's not, to the extent of the Sunday rest. It's just basically what they would do is they would stop their land cultivation, and the land would rest. And basically on the last day of the year, they would wipe away all debts. That's basically a Lul 29. But in American calendar or our calendar years, that would be September 13. All debts were wiped away on the conclusion of that date. Now, that was what they celebrated in ancient Israel, and that's basically during their times of blessing where they were following the Lord. Now, take it a little bit further in history, where Israel started to turn her back on Christ. And when that started happening, what happened was the Shemitah year turned into a time of judgment for the nation of Israel, and lots of bad things happened during that time. One of those including the Babylonian exile that happened a Shemitah year, as well as the destruction of the kingdom somewhere in 500 some odd BC. That was also during a Shemitah year. Now there's other events, but I'm just trying to pull these off the top of my head, but there are more. But these are some of the things that happened as a result when Israel turned her back on God. That made the Shemitah kind of that judgment period. Now, let's fast forward to America today. Now, there are a lot of people who believe America follows parallels with Israel, and I think it's definitely possible that we do. And considering that, and considering when we turned our back on God in the early, I would say 1900s-ish, as soon as that started happening, we can see a domino effect of events happening on our Shemitah year or every 7th year. Now, it doesn't happen consecutively. However, there's lots of events that I'm going to share with you in a moment that happened on these Shemitah years that specifically impacted America economically, because just like Israel, we turned our back on God. And so now I believe that it could be possible that these are God's judgments for turning our back, just like they were for Israel when Israel turned her back on Christ. Now, let me just throw some statistics at you so you know what I mean. Now, the three largest long-term collapses that happened in America actually happened on a Shemitah year. We have the Great Depression, 1930, 1931. We have the collapse, 1937, 1938, and the Great Recession, 2007 and 2008. There's also a lot of other things. 70% of the greatest 10-point crashes in our history landed on the Shemitah year. 60% of the greatest percent crashes also happened within the month of Tishra, or the impact month after the Shemitah. Now let me just expand there. The month of Tishra is that September-October timeframe. We have the conclusion, Elul 29 on September 13th, and then it starts and goes through October. That is your month of Tishra. And what happens during the Shemitah is sometimes that final month of September, October, that Tishra month, which comes after the Shemitah, right after it, tends to be a big boom time, so to speak, where a lot of things happen economically. So that was during that particular Tishra month. Then we have 100% of the Greek stock market percentage crashes also linked to that time frame. 100% of the top 5-point crashes also linked to then. 99% of the top Wall Street crashes also linked to that Shemitah year. Now, I'm pulling these statistics from Jonathan Cahn's study. If you have not read his book about the Shemitah year, I highly recommend it. Let me show you that book. Now here, this is what I'm grabbing it from. The Mystery of the Shemitah Unlocked by Jonathan Cahn. If you guys have not read through this, I highly, highly recommend it. But that's where I'm getting some of these statistics from. You can also Google it as well. Now, as you can see, according to the statistics, according to what you just heard, we are seeing a similar pattern. America has definitely turned her back on America, just like Israel did. And even recently, with the passage, and I've said this in a few videos before, but with the passage of homosexual being legal in all 50 states, or gay marriage, being legal in all 50 states, we have now officially, I believe, crossed a boundary with Christ. And I believe that we are going to have some economic ruffled feathers in the near future. Now, one thing that I want you to note is what you'll also know is if you look and just Google some of this stuff, if you look at top economic predictions, most of them, and I've been studying this for years, and most of them have always been kind of worried about the things that are going to happen in September and October. Why? Because these months always seem to bring something economically, or some kind of economic event. And the last one was in 2007 and 2008. That was our the Great Recession, which I talk about not that long ago, was during that Shemitah year. And it's interesting that economists even know that during this September-October time frame that they're kind of like, ooh, what's going to happen now? And this is why, because it's all linked to the Bible. It's all linked to the Shemitah year. And I think Mr. Cahn has a lot of great information in his study, and well worth the research for it. And I think it really brings a point home that here we are on a Shemitah year, but not only a Shemitah year, a blood moon year. Just so happens to also be the same year that the Star of Bethlehem has arrived as well, and the start of the Jubilee year, which is no longer celebrated in Israel, but a time of basically that spark of forgiveness of debt. That's your Jubilee year. And so as you can see, a lot of things are happening and going down. And I think on the top of the list, at least one of our biggest threats to America at this point, I believe, is our economy. And not to mention coming Christian persecution. And I shared this in a few videos past as well, with documented evidence on that, plus the upped attacks on Christian patriots. There is rumors, and I can't say with 100% certainty that this has happened, but there is lots of speculation out there that there are FEMA camps going up in Walmarts and Targets and malls. I don't know how much of that is so. or how much of that is really happening. Time is really going to be the ultimate factor on that. But here's what I will say. It is raising enough alarms from people that people are going out there and attempting to film, and they're getting pushed away, by Walmart workers, by security. And there has been some major security at some of these Walmarts and I am keeping information on this. I am just waiting for, that full footage inside Walmart. Now I've seen pieces, but a lot of it is behind a black curtain. Now everybody knows they're not doing plumbing issues, but why the need to lie is the big question. Could it still just be about their unionization? Are they, getting more amped up facial technology, which I believe is definitely something we could see in some of these Walmarts as well, because we already know they do work with Department of Homeland Security. This is something that Janet Napolitano told us. That said, I'm keeping my eye on it. I think some of it is speculation and some of it is, taken over, or not really playing out that way. But I think some of it could very well be. And so I don't put that past our government, so to speak. But not only that, but we need to be ready, because there's also documents. Just the other day, I shared House Resolution 2899. Now I'm want to make sure that I have that House resolution correct. I do. Yay. Okay. And I put this out 4 days ago, and I will leave that resolution in here. But that resolution basically is making an office or extending an office of your countering terrorists. And why the need to up on all this? Why now? Here are some facts we do know. We know our government is stocking up on food, on seeds, on guns, on ammo, on riot gear, on MRAPs, which they're building up our police departments. Not only that, but I have, the U.S. police force of the 21st century document that also further dives into putting police in our streets, putting police in our schools, putting police everywhere to up that ante. Not only that, but to mention Jade Helm, where they are deliberately, and I believe this is something they're going to do yearly, but Jade Helm, they are also using that to put military in our streets and get the public used to it. It's all about, as Jade Helm puts it, mastering the human domain. They want control of your and my mind. They already control a lot of it on the internet. And they really are studying us. How can we get them to politically think this way or politically think that way? This is what our schools are doing, sadly, to our children. It's a breeding ground for your New World Order centers. So, I want to encourage everybody, if you can, take them out of the public schools, put them in a Christian school, put them in, even a charter, but anything. There's just so much, and there's corruption in all of that as well. I get it. But the way that we're headed, I just think we need that awakening. And considering where we are, biblically speaking, and with all the heavenly signs coming in September, I think we just need to keep our eyes peeled together, and not just one of us, because one of us can't do it. I get tips and messages from you guys all the time, and I really appreciate it. And I want to say, if you guys come across some stunning document, please send it my way, as I'd love to hear it. I've got an email, realityofchrist@unseen.is. That is my email. You can also email me through YouTube as well. So, send me those tips, send me those links. And, if I've got documented evidence, I'd love to chat with you guys, or I'd love to talk about it. But so much is happening. And I guess the point of this video is just, to put it all together and piece the pie and say, get ready, because, something's coming. And I've said it before, and I'm not the only one. There's lots of websites now that are having that same feeling, and they're in the hundreds, if not thousands now. And I think that, we need to just weed fact from fiction as much as we can. And that's what I try to do for you guys. Anyhow, wanted to bring you the latest. This is Lisa Haven signing off.